everybody, how's it going? Aaron here with Lower Lawns, and yeah, I just wanted to do my typical sort of yearly update thing. Year in review, I guess you could call it, as I'm driving to a job site. So this year's been pretty darn good. Very, very stressful, but good nonetheless. A lot has changed, a lot has improved, you know, and so yeah, let's just sort of go back in time and start sort of planning it. So first thing, the big change, big improvement in my life is that I got engaged, and that was back in February that happened, and you know, we're very happy and excited about that. So and the second big thing is that we purchased a house, and that was another exciting thing, but it was also very kind of stressful. You know, it was one of the big stressors. Like, I don't know, I don't want to say that it was like the worst 3 months ever, but it was very, very, very taxing, trying to purchase a house and do lawn care stuff all in the middle of the year. And I had to pretty much do the whole like house like search process, because my fiance lived an hour away, worked an hour away, and like couldn't really, because she's in the medical field, couldn't really get off much because of the COVID situation at the time. You know, if she was going to do anything as far as like viewing a house or something, she would have had to go home, shower, drive an hour. You know, it wouldn't have been very realistic. But me, I'm, you know, driving all around town anyway, and you know, I was hoping it would be a little bit easier than it actually was, but it was still somewhat easier for me to do that process. But you know, on top of it being a work strain, it was like the process itself was very, very tough, because we were bidding on houses and losing them by like 15 or 20,000, and we had already been like 5 or more over. Yeah, buying the house itself was horrible because we kept getting outbid, and our real estate agent really, she wasn't in our corner, basically, to put it the simplest way. We waited around for weeks and weeks for her to send us houses, and she just wasn't, like, flat out. She sent us one house in this course of a few months, and it was like an hour and a half away for both of us from where we needed to be for work. So you know, we really should have switched, but instead we just went with like we got aggressive with it and started sending her houses, and like, hey, set it up, let's go, let's get this going type deal. And the house we ended up finding, that we ended up buying, and is a perfect example of she wasn't in our corner, right? Because we had been asking her, like, can you find houses? Can you ask around? Can you figure out, you know, do some legwork and find us a house, you know, like, because she wasn't sending us any information, and we didn't have any indication that she was searching. And you know, she would say, yeah, I'm asking, I'm gonna call, but we just never got anything from her. So we find this house, right? And we get into, we tell her, hey, can you get to the agent on this house and get it set up for a meeting or for a viewing? And she goes, oh yeah, that's my buddy so-and-so. And we, at that point, we just, me, I guess, I shouldn't speak for my fiance, but me, I got livid, because it's like, oh, this is your buddy with the house that was just listed? You remember that part of this whole like process where we asked you to ask around for the houses that were getting listed soon, and you said you didn't know of anything, but now your buddy, your best buddy, you know, like, Like the whole process was very, very frustrating, and just it was horrible. We should have switched realtors and made it easier on ourselves, but we're really bad at things and such when it comes to that. But we did get this house. We did get this house. We had asked for repairs on it, and the seller was only willing to pay like $5,000 worth of repairs, but this house was in a way we got screwed, but in a way we didn't. You know, the house structurally is pretty darn great as far as we can see, but the old homeowners had done all their DIY like repairs and stuff, and just did an abysmal job. I mean, it was just horrible. We you know, for example, my fiance was in the kitchen, and we thought the floor might have had some structure issues, but because it was kind of spongy and weird, and you know, she's looking at the floor and like picking at the ground a little bit, and she stands up holding an entire clean piece of tile, and I said, okay, well, I guess we're pulling the floors up, because and right there on the spot, you know, it took us 30 minutes to pick up every single piece of tile by hand. I think we might have broken like 3 tiles, but the reason the floor was spongy was because they hadn't attached the tiles properly. Like, they hadn't even mixed the mortar. It was just sand underneath the tiles, basically. And so we had to pull up the floors. It took us about 3 days to scrape up the backing, because the way the tile works is you do mortar, a backer board, mortar, and then the tile. It took us like 3 days to get that backer board up because they had screwed it in, which is, you know, okay, it's part of it, but 3 days to do that. The cabinets that were in the house, they were all drilled in the kitchen. They were all held in with about 3 screws, maybe 5, but none of them were going through studs. They were all going through drywall. I think 1 or 2 was going through studs. So cabinets took 15 minutes to pull out of the house, and they were all ugly and nasty and horrible colors. So we've had to repaint the kitchen, basically, redo the tile floors, redo the ceiling, fix a bunch of drywall holes. Like, there's just holes all in the walls, like especially behind the cabinets and stuff. I mean, it looks like they had trouble putting them in. We got all new cabinets. We cleaned, actually, instead of buying tile, we cleaned the tiles and put them back down, and it worked out pretty darn well. There's still just a little bit of tile to put down in the kitchen, but that worked out, you know, thankfully. You know, we didn't have to spend like $3,000 on tile. We got new countertops, and there's still a few like minor things. Oh, we opened up a wall because the kitchen, the layout of the house was horrible. So we opened up a wall, which was, you know, very nice to do. I mean, it really, the house is just so different. It's pretty darn unbelievable. But the process of getting it there was very difficult, because again, it was me, after closing, going to the house and, you know, working on laying the tile and cleaning the tile, and, you know, it took a while to do all that because it was me alone, and I was doing pretty much like anywhere from 8 to 12 hours a day with the lawn and landscape stuff, and then I would go there and work until like 1 or 2 in the morning on renovation stuff, because, you know, at the very beginning there, especially, I had no DIY like handyman skills, but, you know, I've learned it, and I've kind of sped up a little bit at it, and learned sort of what's needed and what's not. But that 2 to 3 months of renovations, and then the few months prior, like trying to buy the house, are probably some of the most stressful. bordering on miserable, but I don't want to take it that far, because now it's like where we're at with it now, it definitely has paid off. Like, it was certainly worth it to go through all the renovations and stuff, and we're making the house something that we can be happy about. And there's still a lot to do. There's 2 whole bathrooms, and it's a two bathroom house, and both of them need renovated pretty much completely. Well, not completely, but we're going to redo the tub in one, and then we got to redo the shower, and you know, it's just, yeah, there's plenty of stuff that I would like to record for the channel, if that's at all possible, sort of timing wise. Okay, so but yeah, starting to get back into the landscaping bit of things. I started making some changes last year or last month, and you know, started calling people, dropping, you know, yards that were slow pay or no pay, which is something that you do every year, or at least I do every year. You know, people who were behind certain amounts of money, or just typically take like a month or two, you know, and then you try to charge them a late fee, and like, wait a minute, you know, things like that. And I also increased pricing on my contracts by a little bit, mainly for the ability to drop a couple of more yards, so that I could kind of cut back a little bit. Ended up that one contract that I did was for some condos, and I increased their price by quite a lot. That one was something like a $7,000 increase. It was a lot for a community of this size. There's only like 30 units in there, so you know, for them to do it was a lot, but they did accept, and I'm glad, because that sort of, having that contract signed will give me enough regular income that I can cut back just a little bit more and try to focus a little bit more on being at home, and you know, with my fiance, and trying to, you know, attend to those family relationships that, you know, over the years, working 12 hours a day, you just neglect, and you don't have the time for. And I know everybody's like, oh, why don't you just get some help instead of cutting out customers? Well, it's a lot harder to get help than it seems. And then even when you do have help and you try to increase your prices, people who tell you to get help, they don't want you to get help anymore. You know, they're gonna tell you to go, well, Aaron, you need to start hiring if you're having trouble, you know, picking up more work, and because you don't have the time. I mean, that's a shame you have to turn down work. But then as soon as those same people hear their price increase because we got to pay for labor now, they're going to go find someone else who doesn't have work because it's cheaper. So that's the kind of thing that kind of frustrates me. And then you got those other customers who are just a pain in the neck sometimes, you know, people who are just never satisfied no matter what it is. And, you know, I don't have many of those. I think I've had, like, since 2016 when I started, I think I've had probably 3, maybe 4 customers who were what I would consider insufferable. Basically, just like super picky and wanting to complain about really good looking work, like, I mean, and not being realistic about things like, you know, someone wanted me to plant some vines, and they were like, well, why didn't you just plant more vines? I was like, well, it doesn't matter how much you plant. The stem's going to shrivel up a little bit anyway, and then it's going to start to fill in the summer, so it's going to take time no matter what. Like, and they were just kind of like, no, we need this wall covered in vine now. Like, that's not how vine works. That's not how that works. And then you got other customers who are like, they live in the woods, they're surrounded by trees that they'll drop leaves like 4 or 5 times. They're going to need like 6 leaf cleanup. They have leaves year round, right? In the middle of summer, they've got leaves, piles and piles of leaves to clean up. And then they wonder why, when you do their leaf cleanup, by the time you get done with it, oh, well, there's still a couple leaves left. You know, it's like, yeah, dude, you live in the forest. I don't know what it's like, why do you not expect trees when you live in the forest? Like, I mean, things that are just very blatant, common sense that people want to complain about, like things that you just flat out can't avoid or help, and things like that. So trying to get away from those customers and really focus on the people that pay the most, pay the quickest, and are the most agreeable and easy to work with. You know, I really, really am a strong believer in, you have to show those people the appreciation, because if you don't, you're going to lose them, right? If they're super agreeable and reasonable and they pay you on time and you're slacking on theirs, you got your priorities mixed up. You know, that's why a couple years ago I put in place a rule that I tell every customer every year. My schedule priority is based on how early people pay, right? So the people that prepay their season, this condo contract, the 4 or 5 people that prepay their season, no matter what it is, you get whatever you want from me, pretty much. Like, and that's just me showing my appreciation. A lot of you big old landscape men out there, big old tough landscape guys are gonna be like, nah, man, you're getting trampled on. No, dude, I'm showing appreciation for the people that give me something like 10 or 15% of my income up front, right? Like, that's me just being like, dude, I owe you for this, right? Because they're keeping me out of debt. They're keeping this thing afloat. They're allowing me to get this equipment without taking out loans. And, those, 4, 5, 6 people you can go out of your way for without breaking the bank and without getting yourself into trouble. I don't have any complaints at all from these people. I don't have any, asking for things that are unreasonable. I've got one guy, like, I went to his house and we went over some stuff because he's had some questions about, like, can we rework the schedule to include this year? And I said, listen, man, this price, you ask me, if you're prepaying whatever it is you want, ask me and I will do it, because he doesn't get pruning. But pruning is pretty much like a standard in all my contracts. And he was asking me about replacing pruning. And my thing was like, dude, you are one of my first customers. You gave me the opportunity to even be here with half of the stuff that I have and getting a house and getting engaged. Like, if you want something, you ask me and I will do it to the best of my ability. If I have the equipment to do it, right? Like, I don't know. I'm really a firm believer in just showing appreciation, to those that really set me up along the way. But anyway, I am cutting back this year. I did raise prices slightly to sort of accommodate, and the real goal behind that is just to spend more time with the family and not work myself to death. I want to focus on hobbies and enjoying things. I've got a whole yard now that I'm going to try to landscape, and I want to record that whole process. I want to build a shed. I want to build an equipment storage. I want to record both of those processes for the channel. I've got 2 bathrooms to renovate. I want to record those for the channel. I'm going to make a garden bed. I want to record it. So, and then I've got a whole business worth of work that I really want to focus on recording for, and just documenting this year, because it is so different for me than previous years. And I'm working on sort of figured out what kind of setup, because I want to do, I really want to go all out with it. You know, I don't want to do everything on my phone, but I'm looking at buying a handful of GoPros and possibly like a standard like field camera. I've got a DSLR, but it's huge, and the quality's not fantastic because I bought it in like 5 years ago, and it was the like $600 option, which if you know anything about DSLRs, $600 is basically don't buy it $600, because you're not going to get the quality. The batteries are dying every 5 minutes. You know, I've got to replace them like every 20-30 minutes, and if I'm out in the field, you know, and I don't have 15 batteries which I don't, I've only got 3, you know, then I only get something like 45 minutes of recording time, unless I drop the recording quality to dirt, which I don't want to do. Like, I want it to be quality content. So I'm really working on stepping that up and actually doing it this year, not kind of doing it like I have in the past, because I look at the pattern of my channel, and I always post around this time of year when things slow down, and I'll post for right now, like through like February, I'll post a handful of things, and then the work picks up, and it's like, well, I'm out. You know, like I gotta take care of things. And the main reason behind that is because YouTube is not paying the bills. Like, it's not ever going to pay the bills, I don't think. But for me personally, I love to go back and watch my own videos, because maybe I'm a narcissist, but also because I love to see like how things used to be and then where I'm at now, and just be like, God, I'm so glad I'm out of that. Or maybe, oh wait, I totally forgot about that idea that I had, you know, like, because that happens on occasion. And I've even got some videos that are privated that are like actually meant for me, you know, like things that I did at one time have listed, but you go back and you watch it and you're like embarrassed. And I'll even go back and watch those sometimes and just be like, oh God, dude, what were you doing? But I'll do that like around this time of year. I'll go back and like sort of reflect on where I've been and where I'm at now, and it's like, am I on track, and how are things going, and what's changed, and you know, that to me is just fun. I'm a sucker for nostalgia, and yeah, man, that's part of the reason why I'm doing all this, is just to document and build up that nostalgia collection, the Aaron nostalgia collection, right? But I'm about to get to this job site here. I might record some of that just to post tomorrow, because I want to post as frequently as possible. It might not be every day, but that's the goal. That's why I'm doing this now. But anyway, let's get to this job site. I hope you're all doing well. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, or ideas for the channel, leave them in the comments below. I'll take your advice for sure. Hope you're all doing well. Keep moving. Thanks.